We're on, David.
Okay.
And we've got this fancy apparatus I've got here now, Bluetooth.
Yeah. This is the next evolution of technology with
We're
filming.
using. Here, look at this. Oh, you can't quite see that. Can you see that, chaps? It's very clever. I couldn't work out how to Bluetooth up my my feather duster extendo cord. Here we are back at Allendale, Burrawa. It's the end of October.
End of October.
David, talk us through. I don't know, whatever you want to talk us through.
Well, I think the point of being here is Burrawa has been a very fortunate part of New South Wales compared to a lot of New South Wales. So we're definitely not into the game of saying what great chaps we are, but we have had a plan, a grazing plan, and we have been making reductions, and we're about to make another reduction now because the time we had planned in the paddocks we're looking at the moment, the cattle are getting over them quicker. Because we've had 3 weak springs in a row, our ground cover levels are lower than we'd like, and lower than they've been in the last 20 years, really. So we're taking another cut. There's 80 cows and calves going from here out of a mob of 280.
And their adjustment.
Their adjustment stock, yeah. So there's 280. There's 280 here. 80 are leaving within 2 or 3 days because of the conditions. So we still have got quite a bit of grass ahead of us. There's no recovery going on behind the cattle at all. Tiny little bit, but very, very little. There's spaces between the perennial grasses. We're fortunate to have perennial grasses. There's spaces where there's bare ground. So we're trying to maintain cover and being realistic about growth rates and the amount of grass that we've got ahead of us. So we started reducing numbers here back in November 2017. So we cut our numbers by 40% then. That held us in pretty good stead until the middle of 2018, where we had another 30% over the animals we had on the place then. They were calves that were weaned and taken away. We've got another crop of calves now. But we're reducing some cows because of the conditions.
We were saying before, David, I made the comment that it looked like February. Like we're at the end of October,
Yeah.
and that's my perception. We were drafting cows and calves yesterday to sell tomorrow. And if you'd shown me a photo of those paddocks, I'd have said, "Oh yeah, no, that's the end of summer." You'd be looking for an autumn break, early autumn break at some point.
Yeah.
So it's quite extraordinary.
Yep. Well, normally here, in average going, the season becomes dormant about the 1st of December, round about then. The last 2 years, it's been a month and 2 months less than that. So we've had 2 months of spring that hasn't appeared here really. So that means we normally plan for 210 days of dormant conditions. We've never actually had that long, but that's what we plan for, so we don't get stuck. And so this year, it's we're 2 months earlier, going into a dormant season. So if we do our normal planning, it's 210 plus 2 months. So that's 270 days of no growth from now that we're planning for.
So that gets you to where?
That'll get you to April, May, I think it is.
May, yeah, right.
Yeah. What we normally do from December, if it's dormant in the beginning of December, we say, righto, we plan for 5 months of no growth, and then we add another 2 months drought reserve. Now that's not a drought reserve of paddocks we save, it's a drought reserve of time. So if it was to say stay dry for 5 months, that's 150 days. If it stays dry right through that period, we would then have enough feed left in the paddocks we've already been through to go through for another day in each paddock without losing ground cover. Yeah. That's the plan. But always, like all these plans, they're dynamic, and we're revisiting, and we're doing a full assessment of what's on the farm every month when conditions are like this.
And the cattle that came in here this morning, David, so we might just spin around there. That's where they were.
That's where they were.
Had a day and a half in there.
Yeah.
And that had been rested for how long?
It would have been 150 days at least.
Yeah. Yep. And then they're in here now.
Yeah.
They'll be in here for
they've probably been here for 2 days. This paddock's a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Then they're heading down onto the creek country, which has got a bit more feed in. It's a little bit lower down, a little bit of moisture down there.
Yep.
But they're moving slowly, but they're getting over it a bit faster than we thought. So that's why we're reducing some numbers.
They're in great condition.
Yeah, they look
Shiny.
they look really good. Actually, stock of because it's been dry, the feed that we have grown is pretty high protein, and it hasn't got even though there's a lot of dry plants in here, stock are doing really well on them.
Yeah. That's what we noticed too with our cows and calves.
Yeah.
Even our trade stock we'd bought in the middle of winter from Mungandai, so they were getting a couple of toast racks. They were pretty rude shock when they got here. Well, having feed, but it was pretty cold.
Yes.
And they've done very, very well. So and the commodity prices, the cattle prices are all, and sheep prices.
Yeah. No, we've never seen prices as high in a drought. So.
Well, you were saying a couple of months ago, 10 years ago, you were buying ewes for.
Oh yeah, in 2006, the year we had a fire on this place.
I remember that.
Yeah, it burned a third of the place. We destocked immediately by a third, and that was the driest year of 9 dry years, actually 2006, and we had a lot of sheep on at the time, and we were for the whole of the rest of 2006 we were shearing. We had multiple shearings in the mob, so we'd be drafting out the next lot to be shorn, and they'd be shorn and sold. And we got down to no stock in November of that year, but then we had just a couple of little showers of rain. Everyone was out of grass, but we actually grew some grass, and we bought 1,200 ewes for $5 a head. So that got us back in the game, because our livestock capital had been gradually wound back over those 9 years, buying and selling, bringing stock in on adjustment as conditions changed. But the long effect of those 9 dry years that our livestock capital went backwards. So those ewes got us back in the game, and we did a bit of trading and got our livestock capital built up again.
Tell me, just mentioning the bushfire, what did that do for the ecology?
Well, it was interesting. The paddock where it started, there was a lot of grass on this place. It was nearly as high as a fence, and it started on the eastern side of the Lachlan Valley Way, and it was a horrible day as usual, but it didn't actually burn as fast as you would think because of the volume of the material, I think, and there was quite a bit of green stuff in it. But the paddock where it came in off the road, it was the next season it was almost 100% Amsinkia, that paddock, which is a relative of Patterson's curse. It grows a bit higher, and it's got a very fuzzy sock. Don't like to eat it really. Got a yellow flower.
Had it been there before?
I wouldn't have. I didn't know it was in there. I'd never seen it. I've seen it on the place in a couple of patches which we were worried about in crops, but I'd never seen it. It was almost a monoculture. I just couldn't believe it. And so the question is, well, what do you do? And so we learned about plant succession, etc. And the fire is a catastrophic disturbance that puts the ecology back to a simplistic state from where it proceeds. And the Amsinkia was one of those tap-rooted plants that the seed was there obviously, but it was nearly 100%. And what do you do? So we just said, well, we're just going to graze it the way we do every other paddock. Would have had seed on it when we grazed it, I'd say. And I've never seen it anywhere else on the place. I've just seen an odd plant. But I've never seen a monoculture of it, and it only lasted for 1 year. That paddock has never been an Amsinkia paddock since. So it was quite a powerful way of demonstrating that this plant succession is a real thing, and drought is a little bit of a catastrophic disturbance as well. So I'm expecting if this dry period breaks one day, it's going to be in an early successional state. We'll get a lot of annuals, we'll get a lot of probably what we used to call weeds, and it will proceed on from there. But we've had other paddocks where there's been, when we first started this grazing 20 years ago, we had a lot of paddocks that were absolutely purple with Patterson's curse, and over a number of years they turned into grass paddocks, and you hardly saw a curse plant. There's more curse on this place now than there has been for 20 years because of these 2 weak springs we've had, into the third one now. So I'm anticipating there'll be a weedy thing. There's one change that's happened here in a big way is we've got a lot of summer perennial native grasses here now, and we'll go up and have a look at where they are. They're not doing anything at the moment. You'll just see a few little green leaves. So if they get wet, they will just go berserk, and they might tone down the weediness that I'm expecting. But we haven't grazed the paddocks where those summer perennials are yet.
But I guess we should be thankful that anything comes up after
Exactly.
a bushfire
Yeah.
or a major disturbance like a drought.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff, isn't it? It may not be highly palatable and fresh and yummy, but it's got a job, isn't it?
We didn't avoid. The temptation is, we've got to be careful of this burnt country. It's we've got to nurse it along. We didn't actually do that. We had about I think it was about a 50 or 60 mil fall of rain within a couple of weeks of the fire, and then that was pretty much the only rain we had for a year. So it did have a little bit of a green fuzz on it, and we grazed that. We planned our grazing exactly the same as we do for every other paddock, and we went through those paddocks at whatever the indicated rate was on the plan. And over a couple of years, you wouldn't have known there'd been a fire there.
Came back. That's 11 minutes, David.
That's too long, Charlie.
Is it?
Yeah, have you been talking a lot? Actually,
Talk the leg off the table.
A bloke said to me the other day, he said, "Which one are you of the pair?" He said, "Are you Roy or HG?" I said, "Gee,
I don't know what would be more, appropriate.
well,
What do you reckon?
I can't remember who's who, but I'd
Who's-
like to be the more intellectual of the two."
I'm happy to be the Muppet. That's fine. That's fine. Let's go to another one.